We are now joined by Mr. Harish Bijoor. He's a business and brand strategy expert. Mr. Bijoor, good evening. Thank you very much for speaking to us. First up, what are your thoughts on these huge sales that we see? We see these two big majors, at least in that dominate the Indian market space. That's Flipkart and Amazon, come out with these fantastic offers. You know, in fact, Myntra and Nykaa, for that matter, as well, 80% off, 85% off. So a lot of people are left wondering: do you first bump up the prices and then do you go out and say that you're going to give these products so cheaply? So that's a question that a lot of people are asking.
Well, that's the way of the great e-commerce, the way you have dubbed it, the great e-commerce way. But, you know, this year is going to be even more interesting, fundamentally because e-commerce is under deep, deep stress. Now, e-commerce portals are possibly losing customers. And that is a real number which comes out from recent understanding of what's happening in this space. And now, if you're losing numbers, you want to get numbers back. And what better time to get numbers back than the festive times? And therefore, bumped up prices, which you will never ever realize are bumped up prices, and exciting discounts are the way to go. An e-commerce buying session today is quite like a game. You know, you and I are playing the game. Let's see who gets it. It's like getting on to a website to buy Coldplay tickets and winning Coldplay tickets, in the sense you pay a lot of money for it, but then it's as if you won. So buying on e-commerce now is a win-loss kind of a thing. And I think you guys have done the hack of it. And I think eventually there needs to be an app which does this kind of a hack. You go to the app and say, I want to buy this, where should I go best? And I think that'll happen. Bingo.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great idea. You know, of course, Coldplay tickets are maybe touching a raw spot for a lot of people here, even in NDTV. But going on to the battle that we are seeing now, there was a report that Alliance Bernstein had come out with in, I think, January of this year. Now, according to that, Flipkart is actually leading the segment with about 48% market share. Now, this is especially in the smartphone and the online fashion segments. Now, what, according to you, is the strategy that's really working for Flipkart? Because in a lot of ways, Amazon was the big guy that came in, had a lot of things in place. Flipkart started very well, went down, and then after, you know, Walmart actually invested in it, came back up. So how do you see this battle, A, playing out between the two majors, and who do you see as the big third player coming in?
You know, both the players have evolved over the years. You know, what began with books once upon a time is no longer about books anymore. And both the players are really talking about offering just about anything under the sun that you want to buy. And when this kind of a game comes by, it simply means to say that, you know, they're fighting for a piece of the pie. And therefore, when two big players are playing the game, products are going to be pari passu, brands are going to be pari passu. There's not going to be no differentiation between which channel is carrying what brand. And, you know, at the end of the day, confusion is going to result. And out of the confusion will come great success for both the big brands out there. Flipkart will gain, as will Amazon. Who's the third player, fourth player? I'm really waiting for that great big super app out of India. Unfortunately, not a single super app has made a success of it as yet. The Tata Neu does exist, but I don't think it's a success. Reliance, the super app, is it coming? Well, let's look around. The Adani super app, is it going to come around? But to say that a true blue global super app emerging from India as the winner would be a great dream. But I suspect it's going to remain a great dream because we're not too good at last mile issues. And most of the time, consumers in e-commerce want the last mile issue sorted completely. As of today, I think these two guys are trying hard to sort out that last mile issue.
Right now, the big game also probably is going to be played in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. And both these companies, as well as Meesho, which has come out into the space, specifically in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, are emphasizing a lot on that growth there. So how do you see that in terms of the larger marketplace?
Well, you know, you've asked a Cassandra of e-commerce this question. I am a Cassandra on this business. I'm really saying that e-commerce is in trouble, guys. Okay. And if you really read the pulse of the great Indian market, I put the great Indian market into four buckets. Bucket one is urban, bucket two is rural, bucket three is rural, and bucket four is a space which I call deep rural. Now, these are places which you and I have never ever been to, possibly. Now, in these four spaces, what's really going to gain traction is not going to be e-commerce. E-commerce has got n numbers of issues. E-commerce is dominating the urban market. Today's e-commerce penetration in the country is about 17%, okay? Which means to say 83% of the market out there is the big blue sky, which brands can penetrate into. The kind of turnovers we're talking is about 59 billion US dollars, which is nothing. Where will the money really come from? The money will really come from, D2C to an extent. D2C is doing exceedingly well in this country. And it's one of those babies which is not crying out loudly. It will cry out loudly when it reaches a particular stage. But the biggest game breaker, the challenger to e-commerce, the great e-commerce war, as you dubbed it, is really not the great e-commerce war. It's going to be the great Q-commerce war of the future. Q-commerce has the ability to be in deep rural, be in rural, and be in urban. And Q-commerce, if you really look at the kind of growth Q-commerce has achieved in the country, I think e-commerce portals and e-commerce in general should be shivering and shaking, wondering what's going to happen, okay, including this festive time.
Right, so you seem to suggest that it's quick commerce where this battle is really going to be fought. Now, we've had reports, I think it was just last week or so, where Flipkart actually managed to deliver a laptop in just about 13 minutes. That was a record by any standards. This was a gaming laptop. They were able to deliver it in, they actually gave an update after 12 minutes. Now, whether the person actually wanted it in 13 minutes, a product that's about 1.5 or 2 lakh rupees is another question. But that's a battlefield that, even Amazon and Flipkart are trying to get into. So far, not very successful, apart from few and far between sort of situation. Yeah. Who are the big players there?
Well, I would put it this way. Anecdotally, and numbers things can happen. Anecdotally, I can even say that this 12-minute delivery couldn't happen in Bengaluru with Bengaluru traffic. Okay, but the point is, what's going to happen is Q-commerce is winning fundamentally because it's able to understand the local pulse of the local market much better. E-commerce has grown up to be a huge animal out there. Okay, and this animal is talking about supplying products and services to all of India. Whereas Q-commerce is really getting that much more localized. And the kind of, stocking centers that Q-commerce talks about is really my local Kirana outlet totally at the end of the day. Because we must appreciate that, the war that is continuing today is between Q-com versus E-com, D2C versus E-com. It's, Kirana shop versus E-com. It's ONDC versus E-com. Multiple sets of plays and multiple sets of fights. And Q-com succeeds. In Bengaluru, you can actually order lingerie or undergarments on a Monday morning on a Q-com site. It'll reach you within 17 to 18 minutes. Why Monday morning? Because the Bengaluru techie works very hard 5 days of the week, Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday, they party hard, so hard that they don't even remember how hard. And on Monday morning, when they wake up, they suddenly realize, oh my God, no undergarment. Immediately, Q-com comes to the rescue, and out there comes fresh undergarments at your doorstep. Shoes are sold on Q-com. So the entire plethora of brands are going to grow on Q-com. And I think this is going to be an exciting space for all of us to watch as e-commerce makes all efforts to reach out. Everyone else is going to try and peck at the remaining 83% potential of user penetration that exists in the country.
Absolutely, and that's going to be the big battlefield according to you. But what do you see as the major segment in quick commerce? As of now, at least in the metros, we see a lot of grocery deliveries on quick commerce. So that's changed the face of how we shop for our groceries. Apart from that, one interesting trend that we are seeing is that Indians never focused on fashion as much as they've focused in the past 5 years or so. And of course, the likes of Myntra and Nykaa have come about. They've changed the way Indians want to look and feel. So what's your sense on that segment?
Well, the key growth area for QCom at this point of time is grocery, okay? So 47.3% of all grocery that is ordered in a big city like Bengaluru, Pune, and Hyderabad come from Q-commerce from there. But then grocery is giving way to the rag trade. It's giving way to fashion. It's giving way to footwear. So it's giving way to suitcases. Sudden urge to buy a suitcase, and there are 23 brands which are vying for you to buy one. So all this is going to happen. But let me come to the rag trade. Fashion. I think fashion is the big item out there which needs to be tapped into. In fact, 64% of all e-commerce is really in the space of fashion, bulk of it. So this is going to help you expand into that balance 83% of the blue sky market, but it's not going to be the only thing. If you continue focusing on fashion, it's not going to be the only thing, because fashion is that much more local. Fashion is that much more customized. Fashion is very price sensitive, and fashion is also eco-sensitive. In fact, in the deep rural markets, people don't like to own too many clothes, and I think that's the future. The deep rural markets are driving the urban markets. The urban attitude is to have 70 shirts in your wardrobe. The rural attitude is to have 2.5 shirts in your wardrobe. What's 2.5? It goes in for a wash, and on an average, you end up with about 2 shirts or 3 shirts in your wardrobe. So limited consumption will come and will also lead, and that will fight against fashion. So fashion portals need to be careful. They need to not only be fashionable, they need to be responsible as well. Let's look around and see how it pans out.
Absolutely. So, voice of caution coming in there. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on The Big Story.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye. So before we end the show, our reporter Rishabh Bhatnagar actually joins in to provide a detailed overview of how the Amazon Bengaluru Fulfillment Center actually functions.
Joined by Abhinav Singh, Vice President of Operations at Amazon India. Thanks so much, Abhinav, for taking the time out. Firstly, for our viewers, just lay the context a bit. Explain to us where an FC or a fulfillment center stands in the entire processing of orders.
So we are at the inbound dock. This is where we bring in the inventory. So these are sellers from across the country who are sending the inventory to our fulfillment centers so that it can be stored in our fulfillment center, ready for customers to order. Yeah, so you saw us inbound where we got the inventory from our sellers. This is where we keep it ready to ship for our customers when they order. If you see what we call bins, but basically these are independent locations, all are marked with a barcode. So when a customer presses buy on the website, like when you press buy, there's a real-time computation that happens to determine which is the closest fulfillment center from where we can send the item to the customer. The associate comes to the right location, scans the location, takes the product, checks all 6 sides to make sure that everything is proper, it's not damaged, it's in good condition, and then takes it and sends it to where it is packed, where we'll go next. Akshata's handheld device has just gotten the orders which are being dropped by customers, placing them from across the country. She's got the location on her handheld scanner as to where to go and find the product. She looks at the product, she scans it, she looks at all 6 sides of it to make sure that it is in the right condition, and then she puts it in her tote to be able to transfer it to the pack station. So you saw those picking, Akshata over there, she put the package in the yellow tote. Those yellow totes are carried by the conveyance system, which you see in the background, and brought to the pack station. At the pack station, when they scan the item, the computer screen in front of them tells them the right box to select. This is based on a machine learning algorithm. Once the order is packed, we decide to label the package. At the time of labeling, there's a real-time decision which is made that we gave a promise to the customer. In order to keep that promise, what is the best mode of transportation? And basis that, the label is generated and put on the package. From there, it comes over here and gets packaged in these tertiary containers that you see over here. Based on the customer, where they are with respect to the product, what is the fastest mode of transportation to get it there, that's how the decision happens, and that's how the journey goes from here on.
Well, that's all we have time for on The Big Story this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay with us here on NDTV Profit for more.